Welcome to I Love You and I Like You
with Mark and Kathleen.
Welcome to episode 5. Today we are going to talk about soccer moms and dads to an extent. So to serve as an introduction for the topic today, we have our son playing soccer again.
Yep.
Tried it a few years ago and mixed success, mixed results.
Well, and a few years before that, too.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what I was thinking of when he was like 3.
Yeah.
The kids were just running around and having fun, basically. Except for
Jeff.
Well, except for Jeff. He really did not like it.
He did not like it.
But I was thinking more the crazy dad, if you remember, who was on the sidelines. And he was like yelling at his kid. He was like, get it, come on. And we were all like, whoa, dude, chill.
It was a bit much.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is exactly what we're talking about. So not just soccer moms and soccer dads, although that's kind of stereotypically the reputation
well, and that's what we've seen.
And that's what we have observed personally. Right. Exactly. So the reason that I was thinking of this is the soccer season just started. Mm-hmm. And last week our son had his first soccer game and did the best he has ever done. It was awesome.
He was much more confident.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think a couple of things have helped that. He's older, for one.
Yes, he's more coordinated just with age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that the more serious kids that are like crazy about this and like headed for state championship high school teams are not in his league anymore.
Yeah, they're in club teams now. And Jeff's on a rec team.
Okay.
So, well, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
So it's not as intimidating.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so like the super serious kids,
right?
And hopefully some of the super serious parents are gone. They're just out of the picture now.
Right.
And it's way more fun. And in that lower pressure environment, our son is doing better.
Right.
That's been my perception so far. And then we're only one game in, but go ahead. You were going to say
he's liked it better. I mean, he's in, and I do think part of it is the coach, because the coach seems to be creating a very strong team atmosphere.
Right.
And trying to help the kids know each other's names, doing a couple of activities just to get to know each other as teammates.
Building a team instead of focusing on a superstar.
Right. Or even focusing on only the soccer skills.
Right.
Taking it down to the level of, this is about the kids themselves, not just about how you dribble the ball.
Right. Because a year or two ago, he was on a team where it was more like kind of intensive drills. And
at that point,
there wasn't much, I don't want to say love or babying of the kids, but it was more like, hey, guys, sit down. Listen to me.
Which was ironic because from a parent's standpoint, just looking at how it operated, it did seem that way. It seemed like the coach was very, and he wasn't intense in the way that you describe as like yelling.
He wasn't warm.
But no, he wasn't warm either. Yeah. But I asked Jeff, I remember asking him, hey, how's your coach? And he said, oh, he's good. I said, this is the previous coach.
Right.
And I said, well, is he a little intense, or is he kind of strict? And Jeff said no, not at all. So Jeff did not register that at all, but us looking at it, we picked up on it.
Yeah.
And they didn't, I mean, all the kids kind of knew each other, so I don't think the coach felt like he needed to do any bonding experiences, but
sense.
All the kids know each other on this team too.
Right.
And he still took the time, this current coach took the time to build a team.
And I think the right coach makes all the difference, because I think about experiences I had, and there were some years that were great and some years that were not. And the years that were not were usually the ones where the coach was really intense and I was like almost scared.
And that's how Jeff is. He gets scared. And when you're scared and when you have fear, it doesn't matter if you know how to do it.
Right.
That fear steps in and you're unable to really even think about what you're supposed to do. And it just doesn't come naturally. Something that otherwise would come naturally.
Right. I like this. This is a perfect setup, because that doesn't just apply to sports. It can apply to the workplace. And I think it can apply to parenting, right?
Right.
If your kids are just scared of you and they're only doing something because they're afraid of how you might react, then that's not a healthy or helpful environment. They're not going to thrive.
Right.
They need to feel safe to try things and fail and learn from them.
And we know that from experience.
Yes, because we've tried both versions. Right?
We have tried yelling at our kids, and it
sometimes in the same evening. Right?
It's true. Usually the yelling comes first, and then the better parenting comes after, or the next day.
Yeah.
You know?
So if I were to like put a title on, you know, what this topic really is, I think it's how to be supportive without being overbearing, right? And that's not just as a parent or just as a coach or whatever, but what brought this to light is our son gets really, really embarrassed when we like yell out his name. We're like, "Go, Jeff! Yeah, Jeff!" He like stops whatever he's doing and looks over at us and is like, "Stop it! Don't do that!" Like he doesn't want the attention in that way. And he loves praise in private, and he loves the big hugs and the high fives. Like, you did such a great job. Whatever. But
after,
he doesn't want to be on stage in front of lots of people. Right. And so that's something that we had to work really hard at this year. Because
as you can tell, we really like to talk and we are very enthusiastic. And
so instead we sat there on the sidelines and being like, wow, he's doing a lot better than he was last year. We're like having these quiet conversations.
And Madeline wanted to yell out, "Jeffy!" Yeah. And we're like, "Madeline, that's awesome. And you know what? He knows that you love him, but let's do that after."
Right.
Okay? And it was easier to relate it to her because I said, "You know how you are a little bit nervous when you are on a stage singing?"
Right.
And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you want me to yell your name out really loudly when you're on the stage and everybody's looking at you and staring at you?" And she said, "No."
Right.
So I think if you can help people make a connection to empathy,
right,
it can really help them understand that. No, we're not saying don't support your brother.
Right.
We're saying support him in the way that is most helpful to him.
Yes.
For him to thrive.
And you just hit on the most important thing, because you would think that it is helpful to show up with signs and, you know, noisemakers and whatever.
And for some kids it might be.
Right. But for our kid it would have the opposite effect.
Right.
So sometimes we get it in our minds. I think of like in the workplace, for example, where I have my idea of what a good idea is and how I would want to be supported. And I approach an issue like that and treat that person as if they were like me. Yeah. But gratefully, not everyone is like me.
Only in the workplace?
Well, okay, that happens at home too, but I wasn't going to get into that. Yes. Sometimes I assume that everyone is just like I am. And when you operate with that mindset, it can cause problems because you think you're being supportive and they think you're being overbearing. Or that you are, I don't know, just like even that you're being mean in some cases, right?
I've never thought that you're being mean at home, but I think in the workplace, when you don't know the people very well, it could be taken that way.
Right. Yeah. So as an example, like we are not big fans of sarcasm or like negative teasing or whatever.
We don't like it at all.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the correct way of saying
talking.
it. Yes.
No, you were right.
Right. Well, I said we're not big fans, but yes, we hate it. It's like saying I'm not a fan of the Yankees.
You are being much more. Good job.
I'm trying to be political here.
Very good job.
So, hedging language aside, what I really mean is, whatever you do in your own family, that's your thing. But you probably shouldn't show up in the workplace and be like, dude, what happened to you? You get in a fight with a weed whacker? What's that haircut? That is not productive, and that's not well received, despite how you might think it's funny or whatever, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And a haircut's something you can recover from, but what if it's like some kind of chronic issue that you can't recover from?
Right.
That's no longer okay. I think about a time, I was a teenager. This isn't something that I did, it's something I observed, where there was a kid who had been in an accident. And he was stuck in a wheelchair while he was going through his recovery. And one of his friends, who was trying to help him feel normal by normalizing the situation, was spraying him with cologne. And he couldn't I know, right? One of his friends, right? And these are both great guys. To this day, they're great people.
So he was just trying to help him feel like himself.
Right, like, hey, we're buddies hanging out in your room again, or just.
But he couldn't get away from that.
Yeah, and the most movement he had, because he was almost quadriplegic at this point, still recovering. He could kind of flip his foot and try to kick this guy, but he couldn't really do anything to defend himself.
Right.
And I saw it as cruel. Like, it was not a nice thing to do.
Cruel, right.
And the person in the wheelchair did not appreciate that. But the person who was doing it thought he was helping.
Well, one of the reasons I have a really hard time with sarcasm is that a lot of times people don't want to act like, they don't want to be perceived as not having a sense of humor, so they'll laugh along with it. And
I feel like that makes it worse, as having been on the receiving end of that. It's like, not only are you not sticking up for yourself,
but it's a natural instinct, because, you know, I mean, it's easy to say, oh, I'm going to do this in this situation, but natural instincts are hard to kick, right?
Yeah.
So, not that you should kick natural instincts, but...
So, common situation, and I just saw this in a stand-up comedian's routine today. There's a comedian named Ryan Hamilton. He's a clean comedian, like Brian Regan or Jim Gaffigan or whatever. And he was just on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. And he told a story about how he fell to the ground. He was outside a restaurant after a bad date, and he fell. And the people all around him, he's in New York City, there were a bunch of people around him, were like, hey, are you okay? Are you all right?
Yeah.
And he said, no, I was hurt, and inside my insides were screaming that I needed help.
Right.
And I said, no, I'm fine. And he's like, and how often do we do that?
Right.
And so I think emotionally we do that all the time.
So you have no idea
you put up a wall.
How people are really, how you're really impacting a person when you're using sarcasm, or when you're trying to support them in the way that you think is right for you, so it must be right for them. They might be grinning or tolerating, but why not be more kind?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, why not? Right?
Well, yeah. So on one hand, why not be more kind and just avoid things that are almost universally seen as not helpful or supportive, even if it's something that works for you. But go beyond that and ask them, not, are you okay, but how can I help?
And we've been working on this with Madeline.
And with me for my whole life, but yes, continue.
No, you're great at it.
Well, I'm better at it.
I mean, I haven't noticed. You're pretty good at it.
What I think of is, like, for example, you know, if there's someone who has dealt with poverty their whole life, kind of chronic poverty or whatever, and they're trying to lift themselves out of that. If you have the means to help that person, you might immediately think, oh, well, I'll just write him a huge check. Let's buy him a new car. Let's get him in a nice house and whatever. That may not be received the way that you think it would be.
Right.
Like, I would love that. If anyone listening or watching this on YouTube wants to just give me a ton of money.
Yes, please.
I will accept that.
We will take it.
I will accept that with gratitude. But you may hurt that person's sense of self-worth.
Except for us. You won't hurt our
pride. No, I'm saying.
No, yes, it's true.
They may feel more like a failure for not having been able to provide that for their family on their own.
That's why I like anonymous things, because I think it's extremely helpful to give someone a leg up.
Yep.
And you and I both, we've done stuff like that in the past. Yeah. But
I love that.
We like to do it anonymously because it's less of a hit to their pride.
Yep.
It's, it's more of a blessing in disguise. And actually, not even disguise. It's just a blessing.
Right. It's like the Secret Santa thing, or 12 Days of Christmas, or whatever. Right. I love that because I feel like it multiplies the effect. In the same way that, here's a good example. I applied for a job recently, and I found out through the course of them talking to everyone who knew me and whatever, that one person had negative things to say about me. Mm-hmm. And it immediately, not only did that hurt me because I was like, did I wrong this person in some way? Like what happened there? And I'll set that aside. But it made me question all the people and wonder, like, okay, was it this person? Was it this person? It kind of tainted how I viewed it.
You might want to give a little backstory, because it sounds like you can't handle someone saying something negative about you, but that's not what the situation was.
That's like the episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine we just watched.
You're right? Terry.
I'm Terry. Right?
But that's not what this person said about you. It attacked your work ethic.
Yes.
And it was a lie. It got
to the heart of my integrity, which is one of the things I feel is most important to me.
Well, and it damaged, but it also damaged. It could have if they had not dug further and verified.
Well, and you have to think it still did impact their overall perception.
I'm sure.
Right.
But you could prove that it was a lie, too.
Right.
So,
which is true. So I was able to come back from it and bounce back from it.
Right.
But the thing that was painful for me was they were questioning my integrity.
Right.
And what was almost worse than that was that it tainted the whole process. And now I'm thinking the worst of everyone who's involved, potentially, until I found out who it was.
Right.
And on the opposite side of things, to go more positive, because I like to keep things light, with something like, an anonymous gift, monetary or like some kind of physical gift that will help someone. If you do it anonymously, they're going to look around them and wonder who it was and think better of other people.
Everybody. Of everyone they know. That's really cool. I hadn't thought of it that way. I love that.
It's something that I have thought a lot about. Yeah. So in a way, you're multiplying the effects of that gift, because then anyone who does something nice or like smiles at them or whatever, they're like, oh, maybe it was them.
That's so cool.
You're not going to bring it up.
Right.
Because it's, I don't know. So I love that. And we've been able to help friends in times of need, or, be a secret Santa.
Even when we really were the ones that were in need.
And we've been on the receiving end of it.
But even when we were the ones in need, we also were helping other people.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but a couple of times.
Well, I heard years ago, so in the state of Utah, there are a couple prominent, wealthy families, right? You've probably heard of the Romneys, for example. Another one is the Huntsmans, and they built their fortune on chemicals and whatever else. Kind of like drug dealers. So the Huntsmans... And I want to say it was John Huntsman Sr. So John Huntsman Jr. just resigned as ambassador to Russia for the United States. And he was previously ambassador to China, I think, under Obama. May run for governor again in the state of Utah. So a pretty prominent person. His father, I believe, said that it's important to give to charity when it hurts the most, or something to that effect. And what he meant by that was, if you can figure out a way to be charitable, even when your own circumstances really warrant other people's charity, basically. So when you are a newlywed, when you're a student, when you really don't have the means to do something like write a $10 million check, you're establishing
a grandparent,
right? Or whomever, right?
When you're us,
when you're us currently. By establishing that kind of a habit and that pattern in your life, when you do have greater means, you will continue to be generous. And that helps keep you humble. It helps keep you grounded, presumably, because I'm still waiting for that moment. But I love the idea that, like, being truly charitable and supporting people in the right way can have a multiplying kind of ripple effect.
I love that. I love that idea of having it ripple.
Yeah.
And in the right way, that you're also, if you do it in your, quote, right way, it's all about the intention that you're doing it. You're not doing it because you think you know what's best for them. You're taking a step back and evaluating how they function and operate as a person.
Ask them, right? So, while it's good to, I don't know, like, airdrop a bunch of tablets to the middle of nowhere and be like, hey, this is going to help education in this impoverished country. It would be better if you provided electricity so they could charge the tablets. So if you don't take time to get to know what people's true needs are, then you may be delivering the wrong kind of help.
Right.
So like that's where I come back to being supportive without being overbearing.
How do you determine the people's needs? Because it's easy to step in and be like, oh, well, I see that they need this. And if they have this, they'll be much better off. But how do you do that? As a parent, you live with the person 24/7. As a spouse, you live with the person 24/7. So, and I firmly believe that you can pray to know, because honestly, we're all of God's children, and I really think that we can be inspired by God to help us know how best to help people, because He knows everybody's needs better than we do.
Yeah. But beyond that, just like your human intel,
right? How do you go about figuring out?
Well, that gets to the heart of it, right? So you have to really know these people. So it's not enough to like see their name on a list and just choose to go help them, or just like see their circumstances from the outside and say, oh, like, they haven't mowed their lawn in a long time, and it looks like their light bulbs are burned out, and what, like, you don't really know unless you know what's going on in their life.
So what you're saying is,
you have to get to know them first.
If we all took the time to support the people that we have connections with, that's a great springboard.
Well, and there's a term called a circle of charity. So it starts with you and yourself. You have to make sure that you're in an okay place.
Right.
Mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Self-care.
Self-care is critical.
That's very true.
So that you can then help people around you. And that usually goes to your immediate surroundings, your family, right? And then maybe friends in your neighborhood. And then ultimately to strangers. And on the long end of things, your enemies, right? So I think you have to start wherever you are. And if you're still working on yourself and being more kind to yourself, that's okay, right? Figure that out.
I love that.
Get the help you need, and then you'll be better able to help people around you.
Yep.
So, work on then your kids and your family and how you can support them.
Right.
And if you are in a position of trust, at work or in society, maybe you have a volunteer responsibility or something with your church or your neighborhood groups, figure out the way that you can best help those people. So I go back to my time when I was in management and leadership, and if I just tried to apply a one-size-fits-all approach to my leadership, then not only will it fall on some deaf ears, it will actually breed resentment in other people. So some of the people will receive it the wrong way. So if there was a particularly difficult topic that I knew I needed to bring up or whatever, I knew my people well enough that sometimes I would pull individuals aside and be like, hey, I need to bring this up with the whole team. Here's what's going on. I just wanted to loop you in so that you knew kind of what was coming ahead of time. And I would do that with two kinds of people. I would do that with the people who really needed some time to process things in private before it was a big public thing. And then I would do that with people that I knew would receive it just fine and be able to kind of chime in and reinforce what I was saying. So this is why I was an amazing leader at work, but
yes, you were.
I had a knowledge of my people in a way that if something difficult came up, it was okay and we could kind of navigate through it. But that didn't just happen because I focused on their metrics and how they were performing and every time.
Also fits into
I got to know them as a person.
The family.
Yeah.
Whether you're a parent or a child or, children are still learning, so they probably don't have a firm grasp of that, but they can be taught. Or an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent.
Whatever your family structure
is, right?
Yeah. And sometimes that's just an exchange student that lives with you or something. So to bring this home, because we want to wrap this up in time for the ad break, and then we'll have some Q&A after.
Well, and you started off with soccer moms and kids, so you want to bring it back to that?
Exactly. So, what I was going to say in all of that is I think that we can do, our best to be supportive in the right way. And for you, not you, but just someone listening, that may mean, connecting better with the people around you, figuring out how your child is actually motivated. Because you know what? I can sit there and hate that parent who's going like, come on, get it. Maybe that is how their child feels the best support.
I doubt it, but maybe.
I doubt
it's
it.
a possibility.
So if you are that person, figure it out. Make sure that's actually what your child wants.
And if that's what your child needs, then go for it.
Yep. And then maybe I can take the time to get to know that parent on the team.
Well, and you said not for me, but I'm constantly learning that.
Right.
I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so, for example, I have felt very supported in this whole YouTube experiment that I've been running for 2.5 years. And if your idea of supporting me was, I don't know. I don't know. If it was something different than what you have done, then it probably wouldn't be as effective. But sometimes you help keep the kids quiet so I can record a video in the basement, or occasionally surprise me with new equipment for the channel or something. Those kinds of things show me that
sometimes I put balloons up and streamers,
right? And exactly.
We party.
Yeah. So we celebrate small milestones and things like that. And those kinds of things have kept me going when sometimes it's discouraging, right? And if I am to be able to say that I've had some success on this channel, I owe a lot of it to you.
Oh, thanks, honey.
Thank you. Oh. PDA. So you got to watch the YouTube video if you're not. Be supportive of each other, give each other a break, give people the benefit of the doubt, and take time to really get to know people and what matters to them and what's going to help them the most. Is that fair?
That says it.
That's fair. Okay. We'll all be better off. All right. Speaking of being better off, this ad break is going to keep supporting this podcast. So bear with us and we'll be right back. And we're back. Thank you for your patience during that ad break. Really appreciate all of the support on the channel, the positive comments we're getting. And this is a good time to remind you that on Anchor, you can leave us a voicemail. And on YouTube especially, you can leave your comments below the video. So if any of you are struggling with that, right below the video, there's a little description box. And below that is where you leave your comments if you're on a desktop. If you're on a mobile phone, and I'll maybe just include some screenshots in the video.
If you're watching the YouTube,
yes,
you could put some screenshots so people could see.
So I'll do that in the edit. But if you are doing this on a phone, when you scroll down below this video, you're going to see a bunch more videos, like almost 24 other videos. And then there's this little space where it says leave a public comment. And that's what you're looking for.
But you have to be logged in.
Yes, you also have to be logged in. You also have to be subscribed. So go do those things anyway. They help out the channel. They help with ad revenue and everything else. And they just make me feel good. Every time I see that number tick up, I get excited. Okay, so we had so many great questions that people have submitted for a Q&A segment. And I encourage you to keep submitting these. Most of these are from my personal kind of non-public Facebook page. But if you are one of my friends, you're welcome to leave it there. Or you can go to the Mark Reviews Facebook page, or even better, just leave your comments below these videos on YouTube. Okay. So this question came from one of our neighbors. It was a friend of mine. He said, what song would you listen to on repeat in solitary confinement for a week straight? And it occurs to me.
Confinement for a week straight. That would be so rough.
Like, cooler, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I would say that's a reference to an old movie. Was that The Great Escape, or is that Kelly's Heroes, or is that Bridge Over the River Kwai? I think it's Bridge Over the River Kwai. Anyway, so I think of solitary confinement in two ways. So what if you just like had a week of peace and quiet to yourself? What is a great song that you would love to listen to over and over?
Is that what he meant, or did he mean
no.
like? Okay, I was gonna say that's not how I think of it. That's not confinement.
I think what he meant was like a Guantanamo Bay situation where you're being tortured.
Yeah.
So I'll let you choose which way you want to answer that. Speaking of torturing you.
See, man, these Q&As, they're just so not my thing.
I'll spark your thought process. For me, I think it would be Baby Shark.
You cannot stand our kids listening to that song more than 2 or 3 times, so I can't imagine that would
Can you imagine a week straight? I would tell them anything they wanted to know. I'd give up information on my allies.
So that's what you want?
No, I don't want that.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying if I'm in solitary confinement and I'm being tortured, I do not want
You do not want Baby Shark, okay?
Wait, are they asking me which one I would choose?
Which one would you choose if you were in solitary confinement?
Okay, well, so if you want to torture me, it's going to be Baby Shark.
Don't give that to people.
Or maybe pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows.
Yes!
Or maybe...
You know how many dance parties we've had with these songs?
I know. The duck walked up to the lemonade stand.
Yes!
Or llama poop. Probably llama poop. Just if you are... Well, actually, I like that song.
I like that one too. It's a good one.
If you are looking for ways to annoy your family...
Or entertain your children and make them happy.
Or entertain your children and make them happy. Just say, Alexa, play llama poop.
Oh, no, not that one.
Or whatever.
The duck walks up to the lemonade stand.
Well, I like breakfast burrito, or it's raining tacos.
Yeah.
There are lots of silly kids
Pink
songs.
fluffy unicorns. I like that one.
Yeah,
you can't stand that one.
Not such a fan of it. I like the imagery, but I can't stand the song. Okay, so which one would I choose? That is tough.
That is tough. I know.
Right now, ironically, the song that's kind of stuck in my head, you call it an earworm, right, is called The Fighter by Keith Urban and Carrie Underwood. Ooh. It's the song that plays in the background of the Peloton commercial that keeps showing up on Hulu.
That's a great one.
It's a great duet. It is. Even though he's a country artist and so is she, it's more of like a happy, light pop.
It's like country
kind
pop.
But it doesn't annoy me yet. Now, ask me 7 days from now, I think it would annoy me. Now, if I really had to choose one, I would probably choose like a longer form, almost ambient kind of classical song, like the Firebird Suite or something that's like a long
I think that would get too... Yeah.
I don't know.
I could see that.
Or just like I would say a Chopin piano sonata, but they're only like
something
a couple
more
minutes long.
Background music.
Yeah.
That helps you.
Yeah, something like a movie soundtrack, basically. Mm-hmm. Right, that you like plays in the background but doesn't detract from the action on the screen.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So,
you would choose Baby Shark.
No, I would not choose Baby Shark. I love all of those songs, but not more than a few times.
Yeah.
I love Enya. That could be played over and over and over again.
It's true. What if it's the same song?
So here's the thing with me and music.
Yeah.
I never remember names, and I never remember artists.
Yeah.
For example.
It's true. And you listen to the melody more than the lyrics, too.
I do.
So.
I tend to.
So with Enya, that's perfect because you can't tell what she's saying anyway.
It's true. So calming and relaxing.
Right.
I tend to categorize my music. So instead of saying, "Ooh, I want to listen to this artist," I will say, "I want to listen to La La Land," and I'll listen to that over and over and over again. Or I want to listen to like Hillary Weeks or April Maservi, but I know those names. So I would probably, if I had to choose a song, this question's going on really long.
That's tough though, because it's, I could choose an album or an artist. That's pretty easy.
But a song.
A single song.
Because I was thinking I would choose anything from Les Mis, but not anything from Les Mis. Like
lovely ladies. Can you imagine that for 7 days?
No, not that one.
I would die. Oh my gosh.
You have a hard time. That song is grating on you. I was thinking more of the one where
Master of the House.
Yes, how did you know?
That one's on Seinfeld. It gets stuck in everyone's head.
The one where he gave me the candlesticks when the priest gives.
Okay, yeah. I can see
Jean Valjean, the candlesticks. I love that song.
It's a more mellow song. Again, it's kind of more almost ambient.
And it also is
There's some
moving. There's meaning to
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Another song that keeps popping into my head is El Shaddai by Hilary Weeks.
Okay.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Either one of those are fantastic songs that I could listen to.
Well, we just gave you all plenty of music to go Google, go look it up on YouTube after you watch this video to its conclusion, and listen to the rest of this episode of the podcast. But
I also love Hugh Jackman music, just most of his music, Broadway musicals. But I don't know that I could do. He's actually done a lot of different...
All I'm hearing is you love Hugh Jackman, so...
You know what? I know a lot of people who do, which is awesome. I'm not like a huge fan of him. I love the things
he chooses to be a part of, usually.
That's true.
Like
I don't know a lot about him
and
as a person.
I actually like most of the X-Men movies,
Right.
So
I think he has a fantastic voice. His voice is amazing.
Yeah. Better than Russell Crowe, right?
Yes.
Javert?
Yes.
Highly disappointing.
Yeah.
Because that part of Les Mis is so good, and the music he's singing is so good.
Well, and I grew up listening to the Broadway Les Mis.
Right.
Both what is it, London?
Yeah, the
London cast and the New York cast.
Sure.
The American one. And I love the Broadway version. So then you have Russell Crowe come in, and if you compare, it's a sad, but you can't compare it.
I liked
but
what
Hugh
they
Jackman
were doing in
was
the movie.
Great.
Well, I liked what they were doing in the movie, where they were making it almost like dialogue. So it wasn't just the operatic, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was more.
So I think if you know going into that it's more about the acting and less about. But Hugh Jackman was good.
Yeah,
he was really good.
Yeah.
He was great.
Surprised everybody.
But it was more about the dialogue, and when I was ready for it to really go into the full music, I was like, "Wait, you killed it!"
And then he came back into Greatest Showman, which was more like that. Which was
fantastic music. The music was just really good.
Yeah. Okay.
La La Land,
that was a long time on one question, but I think it was good and it was fun. Okay, so I'm going to skip that because we've done ones like that. What would you do if you had to spend $10 million in 7 days? No property or hiding it or investing it or whatever. It has to be gone in 7 days. $10 million.
Didn't we answer? No, we didn't answer that one?
Mm-mm.
Okay. If I had to spend... Wait, no property...
You can't buy anything that will last beyond the 7 days. Oh. You can't buy a house or land. You can't invest it. You can't hide it somewhere. It has to be gone.
Huh. I'm assuming that even if you traveled to the ends of the earth...
Oh, you wouldn't run out of 10 million. You wouldn't run out of 10 million. No way. Casey Neistat did it with Nike's budget in that video.
That was a cool video. Yeah. Okay, $10 million. What would I do with $10 million? I would... And you can't put braces on your kids' teeth. I'm assuming it needs to be
I'm not telling our son that the top of your list was $10 million just to fix that messed up smile.
No, he has a great smile, but... So
that's only a couple thousand. You got to think big.
Well, I would like to meet. I think I was born a philanthropist at heart.
Yeah.
Okay, I personally would.
You're a very giving person. That's part of what I love about you.
Well, thanks.
And I like about you.
I would go to Spain because we've been dying to get to Spain. I would go to Ireland because I've always wanted to go to Ireland. I would probably see the Eiffel Tower, just make a trip around the world to see the spots that we wanted to see.
Well, that's all Europe. That's easy.
And
we could go there on a private jet, first class.
Yeah.
Because you have the money.
But I would also...
You could buy the Eiffel Tower.
I would
at least
have to have prep. In a mall. I would have to have some prep time because I would really want to give it to the people that I've heard have needs, or people in my life that I've thought before, man, if I had the money, I would just do that for you now, you know? I mean, I know we talked about just giving money away and how but I would do it probably anonymously. I wouldn't be hey, here you go.
Well, this is
I would.
Is it Brewster's
I would love
Millions or something? There's an old movie like this. Isn't it Brewster's Bucks or something? Go look it up. Yeah, we watched that. So we watched one that was a remake, and there's a really old one from like the 40s or 50s.
Cary Grant or something?
I think so.
Yeah.
They have to spend X amount of money in like 24 hours, or they don't inherit everything else, or something like that. Right?
Yeah, that's right. I think.
And so they're just like, here's 20 grand for a homeless guy. Here's like whatever, and he's just like giving it away, and he can't. And people are like, no, what are you doing? You got to save your money.
And so it can't. Property, I'm assuming, means cars, right?
I think so.
Because I would definitely get a car for you.
Well, me too.
So I would get a car for you. Like, okay, I would.
But you're still only in the tens of thousands. No, you can.
Well, I mean, and we're not even going to put a dent in it.
No, so I would.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I would immediately pay off all our debt.
Right.
And if we can't save anything for the future, that's fine. But now we've fixed our revenue stream, right? And we can't buy a rental property or whatever. So,
I would upgrade our house.
Yeah.
I would definitely upgrade
Does that count as property?
I don't know. See, that's what I was wondering. I don't know. I would.
Joey put restrictions on this.
I know.
Makes it difficult.
I would get the most comfy, nice-looking couch that we've always wanted.
Yeah. I would be very tempted to pay off people's student loans. Yeah. I'd be tempted to, like for people.
That's what I was saying. I'd like to give it away in ways that so.
Like, okay, so say someone owes Rocky Mountain Power and they have their electricity off. Like, just drop $1,000 in there, cover them for a year.
I'd love to give people a free slate. Like, what would you do if you had another chance?
Well, and that's almost the genie's wish for more wishes. Because you're allowing your one-time gift to be multiplied. Because now, if someone doesn't have to worry about where they're going to get food or like pay for their electricity, now what could they do with that? They could send their child to college. They could put their kid in braces. Like those kinds of things.
So would that be like possible. An investment? I don't know if that counts.
I'm paying it forward's not, because you're getting rid of it and you have no more access to
it. It's $10 million. I mean, I'm pretty sure that we can do all the fun things that we want for ourselves and help other people.
That's the best part about being charitable. Getting to enjoy it too. Exactly. I do think though, like I talked to a lady today who's a physical therapist. She's a physical therapist assistant previously and just went to 3 years of grad school. She now has her doctorate in physical therapy. Wow. But she has $123,000 of debt.
I know.
From insane. 3 years of school.
Right.
And there's, that's a whole other discussion. Right. But she is doing good things and helping people who are critically in need, who are recovering from injuries sustained in war or car accidents or whatever.
Right.
She shouldn't have to worry about having to pay off that student loan. She should be able to focus on those people and preparing for retirement and stuff. So, yeah, I would absolutely just like step in and help people and just be like, anonymously, like we talked about, but just... So now that this is out there, if we ever do fall into tons of money and suddenly you go to make your mortgage payment and they're like, oh, your balance is $0. Well, now you're going to know. So
it's true. How do we do that?
Yeah, just ignore the last 10 minutes of this conversation. But we're very charitably minded. I think that we would honestly do that. And
I think we would.
There are people in our lives who have known or have found out about some of the things that we've done. And they'll vouch for us. I think even if you gave us $10 million, I think we would still kind of redistribute it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we would do things for ourselves.
As much as I like to think I'm like Smaug in The Hobbit and I would just like hoard it and start talking like Benedict Cumberbatch.
Well, you might. I don't know. You might. If it actually came to it, you never know how you're going to act. You might have a heart attack because you're so excited.
I've told people for a long time, all I need is $3 million and I'll invest it very conservatively in some interest-bearing bonds at about 3% and live off $90,000 a year. That's a very reasonable... Do you think we'd actually
do that? Or do you think we'd go to Spain and help everyone?
With the $90,000 a year.
Right.
Because that's a decent lifestyle.
I could see us wiping out debt.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Setting up our kids for school or vocation in the future.
Putting a good chunk in savings. Yep. And having what we need to live on comfortably without stressing.
So that we can then help other people.
And then go to Spain, go to Ireland, travel, and help other people.
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
I like that. It's so fun to dream. I know. Hey, speaking of, if you want to give us money on Anchor, you can support this podcast. That is one of the options. You can kind of like Patreon on YouTube.
Wait a minute, really?
Yeah. If they want to.
Like a GoFundMe type thing.
Basically, yeah. It's like, hey, I love what you guys are doing. Here's $5. I think.
I didn't know that.
I haven't looked into it, so I probably shouldn't have teased it. But there's an option on there.
Just go Google
Go figure out how to support us. I also accept Venmo. Okay.
Mark,
okay. So we have a few minutes left here. I like top 5 podcasts. So obviously, I Love You and I Like You. That's this one. The other ones that I consistently listen to are Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Depending on who his guest is, sometimes there's some language in that, so just be prepared for that. But it's him bringing celebrities onto his podcast and just talking to them. And it's like this. It's a free-flowing conversation. You really get to know the people on a deeper level than just what you see in movies or on TV. And I've found that very interesting. There are some people I like a lot less after listening to them, and there are some people that I like a lot more. They're very normal, grounded, good people raising their kids in the right way and stuff. And it's like, wow, you know what? They're doing it. Okay, so Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. I'm also, if you are in the creator space at all, YouTube especially, or podcasts, I'm a big fan of the Colin and Samir podcast. They're creators that, when I found them, they had like 10,000 subscribers, and they're knocking on the door of 100,000. They're pushing that way. They've partnered with Yes Theory and stuff on a lot of things. Yes Theory knows how to spend money, or Mr. Beast.
That's true.
And then
the questions.
I liked one of my other favorites, who's also one of my favorite YouTube channels, is Cody Warner. And he has a podcast called The Call with Cody and Willie, or Willie and Cody. So it's literally like a 5, 10, maybe 15-minute phone call that they have at the beginning of the day. And they just put it up there, and it's about like getting out there and seizing the day and making opportunities happen and stuff.
Cool.
So, I don't think that was 5. What about what?
Well, so for podcasts... Are we both answering every question?
Well, that's the idea, because I want to know what you like, too. So my last one will be Extremities, which is from the same guy that does Wendover Productions and Half as Interesting on YouTube. Extremities is like learning more about geography. And they're just like bite-sized pieces where you can go in depth on the history of an island somewhere. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
So an educational one, a couple creator ones, and then like a comedy unwinding one. And ours, obviously.
Of course.
Okay. So what about you? I don't know if you have 5, because you're not a huge podcast listener yet.
Yet. It's ironic.
You do audiobooks.
On a podcast.
Right. So this one.
This one.
Yeah.
So my brother and sister told me about it. They gave me some recommendations. You've given me recommendations. I listened to a few from the Ground Up Show. Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
I think it's called the Ground Up Show. That's what
like
RJ
ground up, like not roast beef, ground beef, or like from the ground up.
I think it's from the ground up, like the Ground Up Show. I really liked it. I've only listened to a couple, but I really liked it so far. There's Moms and Murders. I think that's what the one Elizabeth recommended to me. Cold
was really good. It was a podcast all about the Susan Powell case. If you're into true crime.
And that's
stuff,
what Moms and Murders is. It's more of true crime.
It's pretty heavy. I can't recommend it to most people. But it was done by KSL News Radio, and it's
I remember
really
you saying
well
it was
done.
Really well done, but it was
it brings you down.
Gritty.
It brings the mood down. They don't really hold
Was it
back.
Intriguing? Or was it just really gritty?
No, it was intriguing because it's more of a psychological study.
Okay.
Very little discussion of the actual act. Or the
I do prefer audiobooks.
Yeah. And me
there's
too.
a question there about books. If you were to write a book that everyone would... If you could write a book that everyone would read, what would you write about?
Yeah. I like that.
I think I know what I'd write about.
What?
I think I would write about the traditions in different cultures. Family traditions in different cultures.
I like that.
And I just think it'd be fascinating to see similarities and how they're different and how religion plays a role or how it doesn't. And
you got your start with that in college. We took an honors English class together.
The ethnographic writing class.
Yeah, it was an ethnographic writing class. And basically what that means, picture someone going into a remote jungle village and like interviewing all the elders and recording their oral histories and like family relationships and stuff like that, and documenting it in a scholarly way. Your compilation, basically your term project for that, was collecting your family's Christmas traditions specifically. Right. But I thought that was a really cool thing. So it
was fascinating. I remember I loved that.
That's how you got your start.
I was a storyteller.
Yeah.
And when I was a child, I was a storyteller.
This woman performed in the Timpanogos Storytelling Festival. So if you are familiar with that storied institution, every September when we were younger, we were in the children's group. Yeah. Yeah, she was part of the children's presentations, which is pretty cool.
Which I think I was 13 or 14. I think I was 13. Okay. Yeah. It was a cool experience. It really was.
You were so cute. I would have had a crush on you. Okay, so so your book would be about traditions. I think
from culture to culture. But
right. So I am a huge fan. It should be no surprise. Anyone who watches my YouTube channel knows that I love biographies. Yes, I don't know that I would love researching and writing a biography, but I would write some kind of compilation that probably about the Revolutionary War era and our founding fathers and things that pulls in like who these people really were, kind of busting some of those myths that we have that
very cool
continue. Like George Washington never chopped down a cherry tree, ever.
A Mythbusters for
basically like
people in history.
Yeah, here's who this person really was. Why do we have this myth? Like, how was that immortalized? That was because, he was honest and had integrity, right? And so someone created a story that illustrated that.
That would be fascinating.
I think it'd be cool. Yeah. I'm never going to do it, though.
Cool. Never say never. You might do it what did you want to do when you retired? Didn't you want to have a canoe? Like, live in the mountains with a canoe or something? Well, what was
basically the send-off story for Ron Swanson at the end of season 6 or 7 of...
But doesn't writing that book just fall right into...
Yeah, it basically does.
So there you go.
The other one I would do probably is my ethnographic study that I compiled was a collection of my grandfather's stories from when he was growing up and his father's story. So my great-grandfather in rural central Utah, which sounds so boring when I say it out loud, but they're amazing. So
they're children's stories.
They are. And you know what? Maybe I will share some in an upcoming podcast. Just
you should
play a recording of his story so you can hear what I'm describing. But turning that into a series of children's picture books is kind of the dream.
Right.
Because they're short little stories with some kind of moral or like funny twist at the end.
Your sister gave you.
Yeah, that's right over there. So my sister was illustrating kind of our proof of concept book.
She illustrated one for you for Christmas. Was it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Very cool.
Something like that.
How are we on time?
We are up. So thank you for tuning in to the podcast. That was fun.
That was fun.
That was maybe our best Q&A session. So we have a lot more good questions to get to, but keep submitting them. We love seeing them. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for telling other people about this podcast. So if you are on a podcast and they ask you what your top 5 favorite podcasts are, this should be numbers 1 through 4, and then you can choose one other one.
Definitely.
But basically just spread the word so that we feel good and know that people are listening, but really because we love sharing this time with you, and I just love connecting with you because I love you.
And I like you.
And I like you too. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next week.